Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today we're doing something a bit different. We're not doing a product review, we're getting personal. Okay, so the idea for this video actually came from Claudia Glows, and I met with her. She's another gal here on YouTube, and I met with her in Paris a few weeks ago, and she suggested I do this video. Because even me personally, I'm on YouTube watching it all the time, and I'm curious about who they are as people. So I put it out there, send me your questions, if there's stuff you want to know about me. No boundaries, put them out there, and here are some of the answers. So today, Gary, cameraman, editor extraordinaire, is going to be asking the questions on your behalf.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so Martha M. asks, how did you end up in Dublin after being raised in Florida? Do you have Irish heritage?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So no, I have absolutely zero Irish heritage, of which I'm aware anyway. I did grow up in Florida, and at 18, I moved to California for college, and I stayed out there. So after finishing college, about an hour outside of San Francisco, I moved to the city. So I met an Irishman out there in San Francisco and got married in the late 90s. Now, what facilitated the move to Ireland was really kind of a work thing. He was an options trader, and they closed down the stock exchange in San Francisco, so that meant we were going to have to move somewhere. Now, me personally, I have always wanted to live on this side of the pond my whole life. So apparently at the age of 5, I declared to my family, when I grow up, I'm moving to London. I have no idea where that came from. I'm suspecting it was probably Mary Poppins. But anyway, it has always been the back of my head. I've always wanted to live over here. So it was an easy move to make. And in fact, it was probably more my idea than it was his. So we moved here when our daughter, our first daughter, was 2 years old. So that was about 2005. So I've been here now for 17 years.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Anne Hall wants to know, how come you decided to stay in Ireland and not go back to the States?
That is a very good question, because not super long after arriving here in 2005, actually, my ex and I split up. And so at this stage, there were 2 kids, 2 small kids, and it never actually occurred to me to go back to the States because I've always wanted to live here. I love living in Europe for a lot of reasons, and I love the architecture. I love old shit, quite frankly, and I just love cobblestone streets, and I think there's sort of a different way of life, and it never in a million years occurred to me to go back to the States, and I don't want to go back to the States, and I will never live in the US again. So, I don't want to.
Okay.
Okay.
So, more questions here, and there's a few of the same, from Jackie Speroni, Anne Hall, and Martha M. They're asking, can I ask what work you do? And Martha M is following up by, you are so good at presenting, I'm guessing you do something in public relations.
Okay. Well, thank you, Martha. That's very kind. What do I do? So I work for a design and branding agency called New World here in Dublin, and I'm an account director. So we as an organization work with all types of businesses to define brand strategy, which helps companies differentiate themselves from the competition. And then we also do the design component, which is creating a visual identity. We do websites, we do food packaging. We work with a variety of different businesses. While we work with a lot of different types of companies, we do specialize in sort of the 5-star hospitality space. I work with a lot of hotels, but we also do work with all sorts of other companies, from fintech to charity to food producers, and sort of all over the place. So no 2 days are alike. I'm working with different clients every single day, and I kind of work in the agency as the liaison with the client. So Gary and I actually work together. He is one of the owners of the company, and that's how we met. And we will go out and pitch for the business. So there is a certain presentation component. We bring the new business in, and I would also do creative presentations when we're presenting new ideas to clients. So there is a bit of that component, but let me just say it's still not easy, and it is a bit weird to talk into a camera here on YouTube, but look, I have the gift of the gab, so that sort of helps.
Okay, well, H. King would love to know how you came to creating your channel and what inspired it.
This is kind of a funny story because I never aspired to be a YouTuber at all. And this actually wasn't my idea, this was Gary's idea. So at the first lockdown in COVID, we were having a Zoom cocktail party with a couple of friends of ours that live a couple of hours away. And I've always been into skincare. I mean, anybody who knows me knows that. And at the very end of our conversation, I sort of said, by the way, what skincare are you using, to my friend? And she's like, I don't really use any, I don't really bother. Oh, holy Toledo Batman, I went ballistic on her and started yelling at her. I said, how could you not be washing your face every night? You need a vitamin C, you need a retinol, you need a... And as soon as we hung up the computer, Gary just looks at me and says, you need to start a YouTube channel. I'm like, What? No. So at any rate, he convinced me. We went and got a camera from work. I think the only thing that we purchased was a ring light. So we did kind of a test video, and I sent it to, a few friends and a few family members and said, what do you think? Is this crap, or should I keep going? And they said, keep going. So we just did a few videos and put it up, and off it went. So it was never an aspiration, and it's been such an incredible surprise and a delight that I'm nearly 2 years later, and I've come to love it, and I've met some really interesting people, and it turns out this is just fun. So this got me through COVID. This kept me sane, because I've been working from home for 2 years. In fact, yesterday was the first day that the entire studio is back in together, and it gave me something to keep me from going crazy. So it was sort of a savior to some extent during COVID, and it's just become kind of a hobby that I really enjoy.
Next question is from Cecilia Byberg, love from Norway.
Norway.
What parts of Europe have you been to? And a follow-up question is, what is your favorite travel destination?
Okay, I'll start with the second one first. So if you had asked me a month ago, up until a month ago, my favorite destination, I would have said Barcelona. It's just a city that I have loved forever, and I love the flavor of it, I love the culture. But then this kind gentleman here took me to Paris for my 50th birthday, which actually happened at 51 and some change because of COVID. And I'd have to say, right, it's Paris. And I didn't want to leave, and I had a little cry. I really didn't want to come home. So Paris has my heart. And places have I visited? I've visited not enough, considering I've been here for 17 years, because most of my holidays go back to the States. So I've done the Canaries a couple of times, because you have to get out of Ireland to get a summer and to get some sunshine. I've done Paris and Bordeaux in France. So I've done Tuscany in Italy. I've done Amsterdam and some parts of the Netherlands a few times. Portugal, I've been to Lisbon. I go to Lisbon every November for a conference. What a fab city. I haven't been holidaying in Portugal, which is what a lot of Irish people do. I haven't done that yet. So obviously the UK many times, like London would be a favorite spot of mine. I can't think. I haven't been anywhere else.
That's probably it, Mary. That's
really sad, but that's it. I always thought when I moved here, I'd be taking all these little weekend jaunts to the continent, and it just hasn't happened because you've got kids, and unfortunately, you have to take them with you. So it hasn't happened as frequently as I'd like. Now that my kids are getting older now, so it's going to be a lot easier to travel, but most of my holidays go back to the U.S. because my mom is in Florida, my dad and my brother's in California. So if I have a chunk of time, that's where I generally go.
Okay, next question is from Melissa Cook. Do you like to cook? If so, what are your favorite recipes?
Anybody who knows me right now knows the answer to this, particularly the fellow behind the camera. I'll start with the second question. What's my favorite stuff to cook? Well, my favorite stuff to eat, and probably by default cook, is Mexican food. Anything Mexican is what I want to eat pretty much all the time. Now, when it comes to cooking it, no thank you. I hate cooking. I only cook out of pure necessity. Luckily, the kind man behind the camera does the cooking in the house, and he's very good at it. So our arrangement is he cooks and I do the cleaning up. And that's sort of the way it's going now. I think he's getting a little burnt out. But I try to help. I'll sous chef and I'll do chopping of vegetables and chopping of things. But I have no imagination. I have terrible timing. I don't understand how flavors go together very well. Some people are just good at that. And it's something that I truly wish I was. And I always assume that when I retire or my kids are old enough that I have more time to myself, I'm going to become very good at cooking and gardening. That's my goal. I kill plants and I can't cook. So it's so funny. My youngest is 14, Zoe, and if for whatever reason Gary's off golfing or he's not around and we say, what's for dinner? I said, I'm not sure, Gary's not here. She'll go, oh, Mom's cooking. I'm like, fine, you cook then. I would live on beans on toast if I had to cook for myself. Or cereal. Sad, but true.
Next question from Martha M. How many children do you have?
Okay, I have 2 girls. One is 14 and one is 19. So one is just finishing her second year in college. Still lives at home because in Dublin, that's what you do when kids are going to school in Dublin. So she's got one more year here, and then she will probably move to London, I'd say, to live with her dad and, be a grown-up and stuff. And my youngest is just finished her second year in secondary school. So she's got another 3 years to go. And they're growing. They're not small anymore. They're becoming very independent and teenagery. And they don't need me as much, which is not a bad thing. So it's fun to see them grow. Feisty little things, though. Perhaps like their mother.
Next question is from our friend Claudia Glows.
Hi, Claudia.
Your thoughts on living in Ireland versus the US?
It's a big question. and obviously there are pluses and minuses on both sides. Now, I love living over here. I love the old bits of it. I love walking around on cobblestones, and I just like that they have buildings here that are older than my country. And I think that the Irish people are fantastically witty and funny and, lighthearted, and there's a lot of fun to be around. The challenges for me are, to be quite honest, are in business. I find that they're not as direct here. I miss that sort of just get to it, and business is business, and that's sort of missing here. I think people in Ireland don't want to let you down. So instead of saying you don't get the gig or you're not the right fit for us, they just don't call you back. And it can be a little frustrating. I'm very direct, and it's worked to my advantage and disadvantage here in business. Some people really like it. I don't really muck about. But others might find it a little off-putting. Perhaps I'm a little Marmite. Would you say that, Gary? Maybe. So I think I miss the directness of working with Americans or working in that sort of environment. Like I said, I don't have any desire to go back. I really don't. I like the pace of life here. I think I feel better here. I wish that things worked a little faster from a governmental standpoint and things sort of connected a bit better than they do here, but those are insignificant things. But and I think there's some challenges. There have been challenges trying to integrate, I guess. People here grow up with the people that they grow up with, and it's harder to kind of infiltrate. Kind of getting friends was a bit tricky in the early days, but this is my home now, and I will not move back to the US. I will go continental. Gary and I are currently in negotiations for retirement and where we might end up. I've been saying Spain, he's been saying France. Paris may have swayed me a little bit, but I don't like the summers here, weather-wise. This place is cold and it's wet and it's gray, no doubt about it. And 9 months out of the year, that doesn't bother me. I don't mind, you dress appropriately, it's all fine and dandy. But the summers, you're not guaranteed the weather, and that's what I don't like about it. So, you can't plan camping and barbecues and festivals. You don't know if you're going to be underwater or not. And I'd say that's one of the things that I don't like about Ireland versus other parts of Europe and the US. But look, can't complain too much.
We have another question from Melissa Cook.
Okay.
What is your typical daily routine?
Well, that's a tricky one because it's only changing as of yesterday. It used to be... I pretty much didn't leave the house. When it comes to work days, I start pretty early in the morning. I'm an early riser. I'm usually up by between 6 and 7, and my work day doesn't start until 9ish. But I haven't been leaving the house for work. I've been working from home for about 2 years. So, I get up and do all my lotions and potions, which I take a really long time in the morning. I'm slow. I like to have coffees and potter around in my robe and my hair up in a towel, and I like to take things slow. But yesterday was a little bit of a shock to the system because I had to, went back to work. So we're doing now a hybrid model. We're in 3 days a week and we're at home 2 days a week, which is a nice mixture. But you're up and trying to get out of the house and making lunch to take with you and all that sort of stuff. Otherwise, for the last 2 years, there hasn't been a lot of a routine. I'm sitting at my desk somewhere between 8:30 and 9. And by the way, my desk has been here. I've been living in this room, in this spot for 2 years. So we've talked about maybe doing a day in the life and a vlog, but it would have been so incredibly disinteresting that we've kind of just said, no, that's not going to happen. But we might be moving into it because I go to work in a really big design studio that is such a great place to be. I work with fabulous people and, music's blaring and there's just creative shit happening everywhere. And I love it. So I'm kind of getting that buzz back again about, working together as a team and it's just the dynamic is really, really different. So, I could probably answer that question better in a couple of weeks' time when there's a bit of a rhythm to it. But as of today, because it's early morning, we're filming this at 8 in the morning. We'll be out the door in 45 minutes, and I will spend the day at the office. Now I've got a creative presentation where we're presenting new identity designs to a company we've been working with, and it's just working together as a team. I'll come home in the evenings, dinner for kids, the usual. Not very exciting right now. Hopefully things are going to start to change a bit more when we start going to more gigs, and this just hasn't been normal here in Ireland. It's taken us a long time to recover versus other parts of the world. So when the US opened up, particularly Florida where my mom is, I went there I guess in last June. Sure, they only locked down for 2 months. When we locked down for almost 2 years. It's just hilarious. So my life's pretty boring at the moment, but I'm really hoping that that's going to change soon.
Okay.
Is that it?
No, we've one
No.
final question
Okay.
from Julie Munson. And it is, what is your makeup philosophy? She says, you don't seem to do contouring, but very natural looks.
Okay. I wouldn't know if I had a philosophy. I just can't be arsed, is what they would say here in Ireland. It's not that... Okay, one thing I don't like is heavy makeup. I don't like heavy makeup on young people, old people, anybody. I'm a believer in healthy skin, and that's what I want. So if my skin looks good, then I'm not going to wear as much makeup, and sometimes I don't wear it at all. The reason I don't do a lot of contour and a lot of other stuff is I frankly just don't know how. I'm not that skilled. I have some of the products here and I just don't tinker with it as much as I should. I love playing with my skin. I love skincare. I even like tinkering with my hair. It's just not something I'm very good at. I'm doing more and more of it as I experiment with different makeups and stuff. And less is more. And mostly I just can't be bothered. I don't want to take a ton of time. I'll spend a lot of time on my skin. I'll spend a lot of time on my hair. I don't want to spend a lot of time on makeup. Now, whether that changes as I age, I don't know. I'm learning more. I'm experimenting more. I'm buying more. I'm just not that great at it yet. So I'm thinking about taking a makeup course. We'll see. It's kind of fun. I like what you can do with it. I just don't have the skills yet. So that's one of the things that I'm kind of working on. And even I'm doing videos as I learn, how to do makeup for hooded eyes. And, I cannot do a cat eye to save my life. Sweet Jesus. I have been working on that little flick for a good solid 6 years and haven't been able to master it. So I'm working on it. So for me, it's about letting the skin shine through, letting me shine through. Sort of makeup as a mask to me is a really big no-no. And I just don't want to be covered up. I definitely wear more makeup on days that I film because this camera is totally unforgiving. So I'm going to walk into work shortly and straight off the bat, most of the gals are going to go, oh, you did a video today because of the amount of makeup that I'm wearing. And maybe the hair's done too. I wouldn't probably do this ordinarily on the day before work. But yeah, keep it simple. Easy peasy. That's my philosophy. So that's it. That's all the questions for today, isn't it? Okay.
That's it, yep.
Guys, that was kind of fun. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know if you did, and if you like these kind of videos, and I can do more of them. And if you have other questions, sure, fire away. I'm pretty much an open book. I tell people everything. That's the American in Ireland. We tend to talk a lot, a lot more than the Irish do. We're very closed off. That's okay. I can get it out of you. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining. That was great crack. Love to do it again. And by the way, crack means fun here in Ireland, and that's great fun. I didn't suggest anybody go and do drugs, just so you know. And that is it for today. So thanks a million for joining, and I'll see you at the next video. Bye. Okay, we'll do it again. Because you mucked it up, man.
I mucked it up.
You mucked it up.
I didn't muck it up.
You're not paying attention.
I didn't say anything. How can I muck it up?
You're still not listening.
I am.
Put the sheet down.
No.
Put it down, young man.
Okay.
No, okay.